I've seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, more times than I can even count, but I've never really seen it until now. I'm 52 years old, the exact same age as Admiral Kirk was in the movie. And I just saw it on a big screen with William Shatner sitting in the same room. Let me tell you, it's a completely different movie when you feel like you're looking into a mirror.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Greetings, nerds, blerds, Trekkies, and Trekkers. This is Will, and welcome to another episode of Cine Nerd Presents Blerd Trek. You know how some movies just become a part of you? For me, and for so many others, The Wrath of Khan is one of those movies. I first saw it when I was a kid in 1982, totally obsessed with the Starship Enterprise. I even saw it again on the big screen for the first time since I was a kid for the 40th anniversary in 2022, which felt like visiting an old friend. But this time, this was different. It wasn't just a movie ticket. It was an invitation to an event, a screening of the film, immediately followed by a live conversation with Admiral Kirk, Captain Kirk himself, William Shatner. I mean, how could you pass that up? But as I sat in the theater, something popped in my head. I'm 52. Admiral Kirk is 52 in the movie. And suddenly, this whole thing felt less like a fun night out and more like a confrontation. That the movie wasn't just an adventure story anymore. It felt like it was about to become a documentary about my own life. I had to know what it would feel like to face down a Khan, not as a kid, but as a middle-aged guy thinking about things in life and what has come and what has gone. And maybe like James Kirk had the thought pop in my head that maybe traveling around the proverbial galaxy is a young person's game. Now, the second I walked into the Tanger Center in Greensboro, North Carolina, you could feel the electricity. It was the amazing mix of a Comic-Con or Star Trek convention excitement and the quiet respect you would find on a pilgrimage. This wasn't just a bunch of people. It was a community. You had the full uniforms, the t-shirts, and those little nods between strangers who all speak the same language of Starfleet, Genesis and the Kobayashi Maru. This was a room full of people who didn't just like Star Trek, they'd grown up with it. Now, before the movie started, they had fun trivia questions on the screen, which was a fun way of getting everyone hyped and feeling like we were all in this together. Then the lights went down. That magnificent James Horner score started to swell, and those familiar blue words popped up on the screen, Star Trek II. Seeing it on that huge screen, and I'm pretty sure this was the director's cut, was a thrill. The sounds of the Enterprise bridge, the crisp audio, the colors. It's an experience that you just can't get from your home theater. Now, the whole audience was right there for every classic line and every emotional punch. We laughed at McCoy's grumbling. We cheered for the Enterprise. And the entire room fell silent during, well, that moment. You know the one. Then the credits rolled, the lights came up, a quick intermission, and then he just walked out on stage. William Shatner. For a guy in his mid-90s, his energy was immediate. He wasn't some fragile icon. He was a total force of nature, a born storyteller who had captivated us all from the second he started talking. The Q&A was a wild ride through his life. He told these hilarious stories, very self-deprecating stories from the set, with a one-of-a-kind Shatner rhythm. He spun a yarn about the spirit of adventure, fresh off the return to the Artemis whenever I was able to see him live. And he talked about his actual trip to space on Blue Origin. And I'm sure many of you have heard his experiences and talking about how it was transformative for him and how, seeing the blackness of space and the beauty of the earth really, really had a profound impact on him. And you could hear the genuine awe in his voice, even as he told the story to us live, which was, I've seen it on TV a bunch of times, but to see it there live with him was really special. He was funny, very spicy with the moderator at times, and it was just fascinating the whole evening. And watching him, it hit me that the whole night was about legacy, the legacy of a character and the legacy of an actor who made this character immortal. It wasn't until the drive home and after the buzz of the event wore off, that the movie really started to sink in with me. And it all began with a pair of glasses. When I think as a kid, the scene where McCoy gives Kirk the antique reading glasses for his 52nd birthday, that was a funny little moment. Now it's a reality hit. It's a gut punch. Other people, my friend, have a gift for healing, McCoy says, a gift for many things. You have a gift for command. He doesn't say had, he says have. He's practically begging his friend who turned himself into a museum piece to get back in the game. Now, Admiral Kirk is stuck behind a desk at this point in his career. He's overseeing simulations for kids at the academy. He feels like a relic. His apartment is cold and filled with antiques, like he's living in the past because he thinks his future is over. This just hits differently now that I'm 52. You look at your own life and you can't help but wonder, are my adventuring days over? Am I just running proverbial training exercises from now on? The movie starts with Kirk watching the Kobayashi Maru test, the famous no-win scenario that has crept into every single Star Trek show or movie since. And for years, I just thought Kirk cheating on the Kobayashi Maru was a clever. Now I see a test for what it really is. It isn't about winning or losing. It truly is a character test. It's about how you react when there's no possible way to win. Now, for the young Vulcan Savick, it's a logic puzzle that she just can't crack. For Kirk, it's a sore spot, a reminder of death and limits. Two things he spent his life pretending don't apply to him. He tells Savick he doesn't believe in a no-win scenario, but the whole movie is his Kobayashi Maru. His past comes back to haunt him. His old recklessness has a price. He's ambushed by a son he never knew and a love he walked away from. For the first time, he's in a jam he can't charm or fight his way out of. He has to face the consequences. And at 52, that's the most terrifying and relatable part of the whole film. If Kirk's midlife crisis is the brains of the movie, his relationship with Spock is his soul. The relationship has always been the heart of Star Trek, but it hits different level of beautiful and sad in The Wrath of Khan. Something you can only really get when you've lived a little. Had friendships that have lasted for decades, have known what it feels like to lose someone. Their conversations are short, almost like speaking in code, the way people do when they've known each other completely. When Kirk admits, I feel old, weary, Spock's simple, logical reply is still full of such compassion. It all builds to what is probably the most famous death scene in sci-fi history. Spock's sacrifice isn't some big, showy explosion. It's quiet, logical, and an act of pure love. He walks into that radiated chamber to save the ship, knowing full well it's a death sentence. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, he says. As a younger guy, I always focused on the heroic sacrifice part. And that seems probably why, as I've gotten older, the version of this death that was redone in Star Trek Into Darkness just doesn't really work, because I think in that film, it is focusing on the heroic sacrifice. But now, at this point in my life, I really understand what it was talking about. And I really see it for what it is a profound statement of love. Spock isn't just saving the crew. He's saving his friend. That scene at the glass with Spock dying on one side and Kirk helpless on the other is just brutal. To watch Kirk, the man of action, can't do a thing but watch his best friend die. And Spock's last words, where he says, I have been and always shall be your friend, aren't just a goodbye. They're a promise of something permanent in the face of death. And Kirk's eulogy, when his voice cracks as he calls Spock the most human soul he's ever known, is the final heartbreaking proof of a bond that went beyond species, logic, and life itself. It reminds you that the greatest adventures aren't out there among the stars, but in the connections we build with each other. You can't talk about this movie without talking about the man himself, Khan Noonien Singh. He is, hands down, one of the greatest movie villains of all time. Ricardo Montalban's performance is just incredible. So theatrical, so full of simmering rage. But what makes Khan so fascinating, especially when you get older, is that he's not just a bad guy. He's a consequence. He's the living, breathing result of the choice Kirk made when he was younger. The choice to leave Khan and his people on that planet. And Khan's obsession with Kirk is everything to him. He constantly quotes Moby Dick throughout the film, seeing Kirk as his white whale. He tasks me, Khan growls. He tasked me and I shall have him. This isn't just about power. It's a deeply personal vendetta. For Khan, Kirk is the source of all of his suffering. And that's the real lesson. And maybe there's a real lesson in that. As we get older, we all have our own Khans. Maybe not genetically engineered supermen, but the ghost of past decisions, unresolved arguments, and mistakes we thought were long buried. Khan is a reminder that the past is never really past. It hangs around, and sometimes it comes back to haunt you. He's what gives the movie its stakes. But more than that, he gives Kirk's midlife crisis a terrifying physical form. Now, walking out of that theater, one thought just kept replaying in my head. We all watch movies, but some movies watch us right back. The Wrath of Khan has been watching me now for over 40 years, just waiting for me to get old enough to finally get what it was trying to say. It's a movie about friendship, loss, and regret. But in the end, it's a film about rebirth. Kirk does get his command back. He does save the day, not by cheating like a hotshot kid, but with experience and sacrifice. He makes peace with his son. He mourns his friend, but is given the hope of his return. He faces this no-win scenario, and in his own way, he actually wins. Seeing William Shatner on that stage, so full of life, was the perfect ending to the night. He's the man who created Kirk, a guy Shatner himself has faced his own no-win scenarios and is still here, still telling stories, still exploring. It wasn't just a powerful reminder that getting older isn't just about what you lose, it's about what you gain. Great art doesn't change. We do. And the best stories are the ones that grow right along with us, offering something new every time we come back to them. This film is a masterpiece, not because it's perfect, but because it's human. It's flawed, and it's beautiful, and it's full of this deep, aching truth about what it means to live, to love, to lose, and to get a second chance. So I ask you, what movie has grown up with you? Is there a film that means something totally different to you now than it did years ago? Let me know down in the comments. I'd honestly love to hear your story. And if you've enjoyed this video and commentary, make sure to give this video a like and a subscribe for more deep dives into the stories you love here on Cine Nerd Presents Blerd Trek, and also on our shows here on the Cine Nerd Podcast. Thank you for watching. Live long and prosper.